Well, hello, everybody, and thank you for joining another episode of Prop Talk, a podcast sponsored by ResMan. And I'm really excited today because our studio has a little different ambiance today. I'm kind of digging it. I don't know if y'all have ever watched us before, but we got these cool blue lights. It's like, well done, Prop Talk Studio. Mm-hmm. Today, I am joined with a special guest who has been here before. So I'm super excited to have Steve joining us again. And we were just talking about this, that our editors said it was one of their favorite episodes to edit. And I'm sure part of it's because it was probably easier because we had a lot of content. Mm-hmm. But they also found it very insightful and enjoyed the content, which I thought was a nice compliment.
That's always good.
Yeah. So that's why you're a repeat offender now. So today, guys, on our Prop Talk episode, this is our trailblazing series, and we love to have our thought leaders on. And we're going to have a deep dive into the art and value of personalization, right? For you, for your brand, for your communication. And I'm a big believer of that. And I know that kind of plays into what your role is now today with your new company, although I don't know that it counts as new anymore because you've been there a hot minute.
It's still new.
Well, it's new, but you've been there for a minute.
I was a client for 3 years, and I've been with the company since January 10th.
Yeah, that still counts. First year still counts as new.
Yeah.
Well, let's start with that then. Why don't you just tell us a little bit, real quick? I mean, I assume everyone knows you, but because I've been following you for years, I've sat in your sessions. You're a wonderful speaker, trainer. You're a jack of all trades, I think, and they say you can't be master.
Of none.
But I would argue that you're master of several. So just tell us a little bit, just to remind everyone, or if this is the first time you're meeting Steve, we can talk about how you got started and what you're doing now.
Yeah. Well, so I'm on the supplier partner side now of multifamily, but this is my 31st year in the space. Started leasing apartments in Atlanta in 1993. But currently, I am the multifamily industry principal for a company called SalesMail. And it's the easiest, fastest way to send personal communication through video. So instead of, black and white, nameless, faceless text on a page or on your phone, it's a video message that really connects on a different level with people. We got our start in the senior living space. So if you think a lot about like a senior living salesperson trying to help a family make a decision for their loved one, and they're probably in different parts of the country, maybe not all together. So this all has to happen through communication via email, typically.
Okay.
And even when I was looking for my mom, I got a lot of emails from a lot of people, but I never got a SalesMail kind of a message. So it replaces black and white text with a video.
Yeah.
And it just connects on an emotional level. It connects on a human level, which I think is something that we really are hungry for, the customers are anymore.
Yeah.
And it's just a really cool way to set yourself apart and really send a message that means something to somebody.
Well, I was excited to do this discussion today in this talk because I totally believe in that. Tech entrepreneurs, yes, we love our technology. I'm as excited as anyone about how AI can help our industry. But when I was an operator, and still to this day, I still believe as human beings, there's a value and people respond to that personal connection.
Definitely.
So I'm excited to learn a little bit about how that is applicable to property management today, but I know that you also have suppliers that are using it because we're a customer.
You sure are.
Yeah, just understanding a little bit about how did you come in contact with the company?
So the funny thing is I was using it as a customer for like 3.5 years before they approached me with an opportunity.
And as a customer, you were still on the management side.
I was I've used it on both sides.
Okay.
So I was at Leap, which is a deposit replacement and a rent guarantee platform. And I hate cold calls on the phone, just emailing somebody who I don't really know. I mean, I usually take a bit of a more intentional approach. I try to look them up online and try to get to know their business and try to see if there's a fit before I do that. But even still, I just hated cold outreach. And for some reason, SalesMail made it really easy for me to do that work that I dreaded.
Okay.
I just hated dialing people on the phone. Half the time it goes to voicemail and you don't really get through to who you want to get through to.
Yeah.
And I just found that SalesMail really just kind of helped me cut through the clutter in my own head and then to stand out. Because in the inbox, you actually appear as an animated GIF or GIF, however you say that word. It pops if you're scrolling through your preview view, you'll have email after email, and then all of a sudden here comes this waving Steve, maybe with your name on a whiteboard, and it looks different, and so people are drawn in right from the start.
Well, and just to make sure, did we clarify, what is it exactly? I just thought of that. I was like,
We did.
Wait, might want to back up a second. Because I know, but our audience
I
might
shared
not
a
know.
little bit about it. It replaces standard email and text communication with a video.
Yes. And
it's fully branded, so it would have your company logo down below the video picture. There's a place for people. There's lots of ways for the recipient to interact with you. They can email you directly. They can download your contact card. They can give you emojis. They can like it, love it, laugh at it, send you a thumbs up. You can put in a call to action. So if it's a leasing consultant using the product to follow up after a tour, hey, if you're ready to start the application process, just click the link below and it will take you right into our application platform. If it's a assistant manager following up on delinquent rent, I'm going to have to put a notice on your door if you guys don't get on the portal and pay that rent. Today's the 5th.
Yep.
If you'll click the link below, it'll take you right to the payment portal and you can take care of business and we won't have to go there. I mean, so there's a ton of different use cases.
Yes.
But
and I want to dive into some of those use cases in more detail.
Sure, yeah.
Let's start by setting a foundation for why personalization is so important, period, right now.
Well, I mean, this is an emotional decision. And I don't care what generation you are, this is still a very emotional decision. Home is where everything happens, whether it be good, bad, happy, sad, indifferent. All those moments that really matter to someone's existence happen while they're living in your product, if you're an operator. I think it's important that we remember that is part of the equation, and it's an important decision to make. It's probably the most money they're going to spend, and their budget is allocated to rent, so they're really weighing the decision heavily. And they're going to make the decision based on the place that feels the best to them. Remember Maya Angelou used to say, people will forget what you did, they'll forget what you said, but they'll never forget how you made them feel. And I think that that's an important part of the element of personalization because it makes it feel different.
Yep. And out of all the products and services, well, maybe services, but products-wise, I can't think of anything that deserves personalization. We might have talked about this before, and if you've listened before, you've probably heard me say this, but, when we had our management company, we would always, set the tone about what we provide. And it wasn't about an apartment, right? It was about a peace of mind. When people come home and they kick off their shoes, right? And they sit in their favorite chair and, have that moment, that peace of mind moment. Well, we basically sell that.
Yep.
That's a serious side. On a more humorous side, they get naked in there. I don't know if it gets any more personal than that. Somebody said something about cars. I'm like, yeah, but if they're doing that, they're not allowed to be. So that's a whole different problem because cars are pretty expensive. Right. But yeah, exactly. And that's why this is, you're right. It is such an important decision. And with, as we continue to utilize and adopt different technology platforms, I think that's really important that we don't lose sight of what these actually are, which are people's homes. It's always been a staple. They always say get back to the basics.
Yep.
Right. I think we'll continue to see that as far as how you beat and win in the market. Right?
Well, and I'll tell you what I'm hearing is it is about the basics. And leasing teams are getting frustrated because leads aren't just falling in their lap. People aren't just walking through the door anymore. I mean, we've lived through several turns where it's been a very I remember leasing apartments in Atlanta in 96, and people would get into fist fights in the parking lot based on who got there first.
Yeah,
and somebody stole an apartment out from underneath. I mean, it was crazy.
Yeah.
And I think we're moving back in. I mean, there's a shortage of supply. Everybody knows that. There's a lot of cities that have stopped, permitting, and, there's a lot of politicking going on in our space, and there's all kinds of stuff that's working against us that's making it more difficult than it used to be to fill our pipeline with viable prospects and potential leads,
Yep.
So anything you can do to, set yourself apart and really make somebody feel like you want their business. Yeah. We didn't have to for a while.
Yeah.
We got lazy because we were lucky. And now we have to kind of work for their business and earn it. And you don't earn somebody's business when you don't know who they are and what's important to them.
It's always struck me too, because even in a leasing process, when you're trying to close and you're, where you're actually taking a phone call because the chat bot kicked you over. I had a great closing ratio over the phone. I'm just saying. So I still believe in that. But I just, you think about that whole concept of I'm going to help you I'm going to tell you the perfect apartment for you, but I don't know you, right? And so building that trust and that emotional connection, I mean, that's a fundamental part of all sales, good sales.
Yeah.
If you don't want to be the bargain shop, the bargain price, you're winning on price only, then you've got to do something more.
Yeah. Oh, you were talking about leasing.
We were talking about the leasing cycle and
yes.
trust
Yeah.
and how important it is this fundamental of sales.
Yes. Now the train is back in the station. We started on the senior living side, right? In fact, this week we just launched our first senior living webinar. It's called Senior Living Sizzle. And one of our in-house experts, she's kind of like me on the senior living side of things, Christy Freeze. She had a young lady on there who works at a senior living facility in Tyler, Texas, actually, so not too far from here. The way that they were talking about, because they were talking about lease ups and how to sell to somebody who's making this important decision for their loved one when the building isn't even out of the ground yet. How do you create that want and then sustain the desire to stay locked and loaded with that decision while you're waiting for all the construction to finish? And it got me thinking, and I actually I was on the webinar just as a participant, and I typed a question, and I was like, what is it that senior living is doing that's different? Because this young lady, her name is Sydney, she's fabulous. She just had a real heart for the people that she was serving.
Oh.
And I thought, what is senior living doing that they get these folks that are so dedicated
and passionate
and helpful, and they want to reach out and help people make this decision? What is it that they're doing different that multifamily is not? Because we've got such churn in the leasing role.
Yeah.
And half of the time you rent an apartment and you move in, and by the time you come to renew your lease, there's somebody new in the leasing office. I mean, it happens a lot.
Yes. I think some of it's interesting that you said that, because I imagine if you're a frontline leasing, there's a lot of pressure right now in our space because depending where you are in the country, things are pretty rough, right? Especially if you're in the Sun Belt states. The surge of supply, while permitting slowing, will benefit from that, 2 years out. And all of you in the Midwest that are benefiting right now and think that you're great, just wait, because all those developers are looking at your area. They're coming, I assure you.
Buy some land plots and make yourself rich.
Exactly. But I have to imagine that, when I think about like when I've had really passionate teams, they felt very supported versus threatened by technology.
Yeah.
And, what are we doing to remind them about who's in our units?
Yep.
So that they find the why behind what they're doing.
Yep.
And I think that's something that, and I don't know if it's just a bandwidth issue coming out of the pandemic. A lot of people, I don't want to beat that dead horse, but the reality was there's a lot on our teams emotionally. I think that also led to a lot of that churn.
And I think there's some PTSD out there for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. And I imagine it's tough right now too, because what I hear is the way that our society and our residents are interacting with us because of the conditioning on social media, the faceless comments, and people are not thinking. But you can't overcome that.
Yep.
Kindness wins in a lot of regards, right?
It sure
you
does.
can. There's a saying about kill them with kindness.
Yeah, kill them with kindness.
Yep. And it doesn't
It's
pay
like
off
keeping
initially.
hot coals on their head.
Yeah, it doesn't pay off initially. I can tell you, because we tested this once a long time ago. We had a property where, for whatever reason, the residents were just really hostile.
Yep.
And we had a staff change. And we were fortunate. We had a very nurturing group of people. And you didn't notice it at first, but I'll never forget sitting around in a property meeting and having the team sitting around. And it just occurred to everybody that here we are 6 months later, and residents are bringing in gifts. Residents are baking stuff. And it's a different tone.
Yep.
And that was really the big difference. And so I wonder, in some regards for leadership, what are we doing to help them engage and appreciate what they're doing in these people's lives?
Yep.
Brings us right back to the value of being personal. Like, this is a personalized experience versus what you're going to get down the street.
Right.
And people will pay for what they see value in.
They will. And
if they can. Like, sometimes budgets are what they are.
Yeah. Well, but still, some of the stuff that matters to people doesn't cost you any money. It costs.
No, I agree. I meant from the renter's perspective.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
Yep.
if there's, if they're in a fixed budget, that's tough. But then I would argue I would suggest in the lower income brackets, right? Whether it's a affordable tax credit or B- CD asset, they probably need the extra love and attention even more.
I would say you're 100% right.
Yep.
And they don't get it because of that fact, because they don't have a lot of money to operate on. And that's when you look at your supplier partner friends and supporters, because you don't have to always depend on the property budget to make things happen. In fact, this young lady who is working at this senior living community in Tyler, she really leveraged some relationships with vendors to make things happen before they had their property done. she created some experiences that were very much like what the residents would be experiencing. They'd have, tasting nights where the chef or the team that creates the diet and the menu for the residents there,
Right.
they cooked up a meal for them in a space that was not their community,
Yeah.
but it gave them the opportunity to see what the service was going to be like.
Yeah.
And I thought about her really staying locked and loaded and having to sell rent. Do you know how expensive senior living is? When I
Yes.
put my mom in memory care, the cheapest I could find, and unfortunately, because her and my dad didn't prepare for that, she was limited with where we could place her. And the most affordable place that I could find was $5,800 a month.
Oh, yeah.
And so
That's a lot.
for them to be that
And then go up to $10,000, $14,000, $15,000
easy.
Yeah.
And for somebody in that sales role to be that engaged and passionate and selling a really high dollar rent, want to be there. I'm just like, what is the secret sauce that's there? And it is the person. I mean, because she obviously cares a great deal about her residents, and she really wants to help them through this difficult time because it's not easy.
No.
And it's the same for traditional multifamily.
Yes. Bringing it back to that's a great point, right? Because this is, again, it's someone's home.
Yep.
We're talking about personalization. We went down a little bit of rabbit hole. But
Sorry.
I think it was a good rabbit hole because this is bringing it back to, yes, we want people to personalize what they're doing in their jobs, but we're doing the job for a reason, right? We need to grow the value of the asset. We need to financially perform, and in a very competitive market, and we do. We have a decent percentage of our base that's in the Sunbelt states at Resman. So I get to hear and have heard between TAA and NAA and then Resmania, a lot of one-on-one conversations about what it's really like out there and how difficult it is. Really, all I think comes back, and in fact, we did a session at TAA and then NAA with two people I know, Mary Gwen and Lori Kroll.
Two of my favorites.
And it all came back to the experience that we create. And our session was about
renewals, right?
And then how you're engaging and having an actual plan and strategy around how you engage.
Yep.
So I think now let's kind of divide it and talk about how you can utilize, these personalized video messages in general in the leasing process, and just get a little more granular, and then we'll talk about other use cases because I think there's more than just leasing. And I think when people initially hear about video follow-up, their mindset goes to the true sales process. And maybe, in fact, it still is because a renewal is reselling the property.
Right. Well, it is. Yeah, it is.
Right. So talk to us about the leasing
Well,
aspects
so from a
of this.
leasing aspect, it's really easy. And to me, it's a time saver to leverage video because, instead of having to hash out a typed message, double check it, spell check it, make sure my grammar looks good, why not send a 30, 45-second video that has the same message and just delivers it in a completely different envelope?
Yep. So questions then.
Yeah.
Because you can tell my curiosity's peaked.
Well, you just get as curious as you want to.
Okay. First, in the leasing cycle, I'm assuming you would want to and could, and it would be beneficial, you would utilize this form of communication more than once.
Oh, yeah.
So it's not just a
But
follow-up
not all the
piece.
time.
Okay. So
you want to kind of break it up.
Okay.
If you've got multiple contact methods that have been given to you by the resident or the prospect, you want to use all of them. If they
Good
give you
point.
a phone number, they've given you the phone number because they want you to call them. If they didn't want you to call them, they wouldn't give you the phone number.
Okay.
Same with an email address. Same with a physical address. What's to say you don't pop a note in the mail?
Yep.
What the hell?
What is this? Is that a stamp? I haven't seen one of those.
Who ever gets a handwritten thank you anymore? And it really
Stands out when you do it.
sets you apart.
Yep,
It
it
really
does.
does set you apart. And I always hear leasing teams saying, "Oh, we just don't have enough traffic." And then the marketing team will be like, "You have plenty of traffic. You're just not doing what you need to do with the traffic we give you."
That's a constant sales problem, I think. I don't think it's limited to our industry.
It is.
It
And,
is.
we're in a situation now where we do have to be a bit more intentional and memorable in order to win the business. And there's nothing better than to see somebody's face versus to just get a flat, nameless, textless, or nameless, faceless text on a page.
Yeah. Great follow-up. In this case, is it a link that does it have to go through email or can it be also utilized via text?
It can go through email, text, or CRM. And it's not like a bidirectional integration because when you partner with some of the property management software companies that are in our space,
like Resman.
No, unlike Resman.
I'm allowed to be shameless on this one. It's our prop talk.
Yeah, but it's really expensive to do that integration work, right?
Yeah.
And we'd have to pass a lot of that expense on to our customers. And so what we've done is we've just made it as easy as possible. It's like 3 clicks to get it done, and then you copy and paste it.
Yeah.
You either copy and paste it into an email if you're using Outlook or Gmail.
Yep.
You copy and paste it into your CRM if you're sending your emails through your CRM. Just copy and paste. Or if the resident or prospect has opted in for texting, you just copy the link and paste it in there. And you can do that through, I'll say, one of your competitors, just because it's what I know. I don't know if Resman has a platform that's similar to Rent Cafe. What would it be called?
Well, we have our own CRM.
Okay.
We're also backed by Anyone Home. So we have tight integrations.
Yep.
But Resman also has, and where I was going with that is we originally, like way back in the beginning, I'm kind of proud of this. I think we were one of the first ones to have bidirectional texting as part of Resman's core architecture.
That's great.
Nick was a genius. I always give a shout out to Nick Olson, our CTO. But that was his brainchild. So when we have super easy workflows for you to put in your generate an email and a text. And that's why I was curious. Like, can you just bring that link over? Because then it's also stored for other people to see and utilize.
People can forward it.
Yeah. Well, and from what I'm hearing, text message is just so.
It's the way people want to be communicated with.
Most people are even people who fought it. Like, I want you to pick up the damn phone. My 70-something-year-old mother, who's like, didn't even get a cell phone until I forced it on her, and I had to preload it. I had to make my own Samsung or my own Android seniors training guide.
Oh, that's
I'm not
great.
kidding. Like,
I love it.
Samsung, they should pay me because
They
it was a pretty
should.
good one. Not gonna lie. And I loaded everything up for her. She now texts.
Yeah.
But she fought it for like 15, 16 years.
Yeah.
So I think text, that makes sense. So if you could definitely open that up while you're, make someone's
how
day.
How much more effective and impactful would it be to get a video message that says, "Hey, Elizabeth, this is Steve in the office. I just wanted to let you know that we are going to have to shut the water off to building 3. That's going to be off from 11 today until around 2 p.m. I'll send another update as soon as we get everything turned back on, but I wanted you to know that's what was happening." You could do it one-on-one, just like that, or you could send it bulk and say, "Hey, residents of building 3, we just want to let you know that the water's going to be shut off today from 11 to 3. We'll send additional updates as the process gets taken care of. Just wanted you to know what's going on," versus
an email that you may not ever see because
that they may not read.
Yes. And that's, again, where the texting comes in, because we do see a lot of the residents that are opted in because of that exact reason.
Yep.
Well, that goes into use cases, because I definitely can see the value of the video messaging, especially if you're having to deliver news like, something like, "Hey, this isn't an inconvenience," but it's always better to see someone's face and eyes and body language. And
or if you think about those, like when somebody's car gets broken into.
Oh.
"Hey, we just wanted to let everybody know that a couple of cars were broken into in the parking lot last night. We know that everybody who lives here wants to be aware of what's happening in our neighborhood. And rather than send you all a letter that you'll probably not read, or that my team has to go post on everybody's door and it's a heat index of 110 today." But again, that message comes through with a lot more empathy, feeling, versus just the cut and dried.
Plus, I would imagine one of the biggest...
Pay attention to your social media policies and the PR policies that your company has in place, but look for ways to humanize the experience.
Yes. And I think something just occurred to me that hadn't until just now when you said that, the way you said it. One of the challenges with email, and text to some degree, but it seems to be more of an issue with email, is the mindset of the person receiving the communication tends to have an impact on their interpretation of the email.
Yep.
Right?
Tone and
everything,
messaging, and
I don't know why texting is not quite as bad from my experience and what I get in feedback. Maybe it's because it's shorter messages.
I think that's probably part of it.
Yeah, but with email, yes, the mood I'm in can definitely have some impact on how I perceive that message. Whereas video messaging in general, and seeing someone's face, that's a much stronger form of communication because of the facial expressions, the body language, and tone.
Yep.
But you can't control that in email.
Right.
I love that.
Me too.
I love that.
Me too. And even not just about resident communications or prospect communications, but intercompany communications.
Oh, yeah.
To get a message from your boss, or like I had several people when I was working at Equity, I was the king of fluff. So all my emails were like, "Hi, so and so. I hope you had a great weekend and that your day's off to a
Really,
great start."
I'm the queen of cheese.
Well, I love it, but
King of
not
fluff,
everybody.
queen of cheese.
Not everybody loves that.
No. By the
But
way, if it's sincere, I don't know that it counts. Like, I'm just saying.
it is sincere,
That's
but they
different.
still don't always ask Colleen Yeager. She'll tell you. She was like, "If I get one more 3-page email from you, I'm going to run over you with my car."
Okay, yeah, I'd have to agree with her on that one.
So I started putting everything I needed from her in the subject line of my emails, and she started responding. But my point is, you can revolutionize your communication strategy from soup to nuts. Exterior communication to prospects and residents, interior communication to your team members, and think about recruiting and how people don't show up. They accept a job and they don't show up. What if you've sent them several video messages and they've engaged and they've clicked a few of your call to actions and they've completed a few activities during that waiting period and you've kept them engaged? I mean, if this woman can keep somebody engaged in a $5,800 apartment waiting to be constructed, it's just about really showing up differently and intentionally demonstrating that you want somebody's business.
Yeah, that's the key, internal and
key.
external. So for me, when we first started talking about what you were doing, and I was thinking about it, I was working on our session, right, about resident engagement and renewals and retention. Really thinking about, we do put a lot of effort into the sales process at the front end, and then I've heard it since my first week in the industry, right? Renewals, right, and renewals don't start when you send out the renewal offer.
Before they move in.
They start before they move in. But it's interesting to me how it's still one of the areas in the industry that we don't have like really defined strategy around. So, and we track just about everything in the industry. So shout out to our Resman viewers, because we are working on that, because we developed something for our session that we gave away, which you can still find on Resman's website, that is about a strategy for engaging. So it's not just about reactions and tracking what you've done. It's actually building out however long their lease is, but a 12-month plan on how to meaningfully engage throughout their time with you at the property. This is a great way to do that. Because
great way to do this.
Yes.
I mean, it is work. You've got, and leasing folks that are listening, it's not busy work. It's important work. It's work that matters to the relationship that you want to keep with somebody. And if you don't nurture that relationship, they'll go find somebody who will. And there's nothing that is better for your bottom line than keeping the back door closed.
Amen to that.
You don't have turn costs. You don't have...
Which are at an all-time high, by the way.
Right?
Yes.
And now things are, there's still supply chain issues and things aren't as readily available as they used to be. So if we can keep them happy and get them to say yes to the dress again and again and again. And it's interesting, Elizabeth, because I've been doing some blogging in addition, so I've got my podcast as well, which you need to come on, by the way. But I do supplemental blog posts for that. And I just did one, it hasn't released yet, but I'm talking about this sense of community. And we have it wrong. Okay. Residents don't want to build relationships with their next door neighbor. Okay. They want a team in the office who connects with them and creates a living experience that is personalized and that they feel that they're getting the attention that they're paying for. Which is an interesting concept, because we typically think when people say a sense of community that it's all about activities and the neighbors and getting them in a wine and cheese room so that they can meet their neighbors. No, they want to see you because they bought from you, and they don't want to just move in and then not see you until it's 120 days before your lease expires. Here I am. Remember me?
It's funny you say that.
Funny weird or funny haha?
Funny, amazing, ironic, timely, on point, whatever you want to say. Because it was interesting. I agree with you wholeheartedly. And I think when somebody's moving in, assuming they haven't used all the wonderful tools and done videos, so it's just a typical typical experience. Probably good, not great, but good. They have no perceived value, like dollar amount, for the service level at the community.
Right.
Because they've never experienced it. And so the way I think of
they have.
Well,
through your engagement and your follow-up and how well you handled them through the leasing process.
They do. I would say they have some, but I would also challenge, I think some people also assume that's the sales process, right? It's kind of like when you buy things, you expect a certain level on the front end and you worry what it's going to be like on the back end.
Yeah.
After I'm locked and loaded, right? What is the real experience? But that's a fair point. So maybe some assumption, right? But they don't know for sure. Mm-hmm. And they agreed, and they moved in.
The jury is still out.
Yes, the jury. That's a better way to say it. I'll give you that. The jury's still out. So they signed the lease. They agreed to the rent. And now, to me, you have 12 months or however long that lease term is to add a line item to that rent bill that they're willing to pay for. Where now I can start, if I deliver and I exceed expectations and I create truly exceptional, spectacular experience, something that they've never experienced anywhere else in their renting life. Now, when I go back, not only, have I earned the right to ask for an increase, I've also probably earned the right to push that rent. And in a time where we're coming out of, flatlined rent growth, and I know there are some here in Texas specifically that have negative rent growth that they're recording right now.
For the first time in several years. I mean, it happened back in the day, but it's been a long time.
Yes. And so I think this is where, we're kind of in the middle of leasing season. I would think every single person who just moved in over the last 90 days, right?
Yep.
Everybody who just renewed, you have an opportunity to build value into that line item. Isn't the objection to price?
It's perceived value.
Yep.
And people pay for that if they perceive that it is worth the price. So I moved into an apartment community in Richmond. It's called The Locks, RVA. Shout out to Chelsea and Chase and the whole team there at the property because they do a great job. I've lived in apartments as long as I've been working in multifamily. So for 31 years, I've been a renter. I've never, ever had a desire to go to resident functions and to be involved like I do here, but it's because of the team. They are all present at every activity that we have. So we just celebrated National Wine and Cheese Day on the 25th of July. The entire leasing team was there. The entire service team was there. And they were eating and drinking and mixing and mingling. And there were probably 70 residents that showed up.
That's a good number. That's a good turnout.
And they do 4 things a month.
Oh, wow. That's a lot of activities.
We actually spend more time talking to them at those functions than we do talking to our neighbors.
And so how long have you lived in this place?
A year and a half.
Okay. And
I'm paying $2,500 a month, which is pretty substantial in that market.
Yeah. So how's the turnover on the staff been?
They're all still there.
That was where I was going with that. Because it seems to me that PRG
is the company that manages. Chelsea's the manager there, and she really expects the team to do that. And she sets that expectation from the very get-go. But it's not like they're, oh God, I've got to go to this resident function tonight. They want to be there because they enjoy spending time with us and making us happy. Chase was my leasing consultant, and he didn't have SalesMail, but he shot me a video of the apartment on his iPhone, and he sent it to me, and I leased it, and I paid rent on it for 2 months. I think I even said this story last time I was here. I paid rent on it 2 months before I even moved there, because I didn't want to lose it, because it was such a cool apartment. And he took the time to be intentional. And he was even like, when I came to move in, he's like, I'm so mad at you. And I'm like, why? He's like, because I wanted that apartment. But they were intentional and personal. And I didn't have a move-in gift. I don't need one. The value that I see is in how they are managing the community. Everything is clean. Everything works. It's not all new. My building is 110 years old, but it's well maintained. I'm like, wait, that's really old. It's the old Reynolds factory.
I'm so engaged. I'm like, wait a minute. I just what did he just say?
Yeah. So the Locks is this really cool old. Some of the buildings are 120 years old. Richmond. I mean, it's was the capital of the Confederacy. So that's how old some of these places are. But my building is called Illume, and it's a play on aluminum because it was the old Reynolds factory.
Oh, wow.
So, but I mean, everything is clean, and I see them. I see them on the property, straightening chairs at the pool. I get a rent increase, and it wasn't that bad. It was very minimal, but I see them touch up painting in the hallways and replacing light bulbs and doing the things that we should be doing, maintaining the property, but they're seen. Yeah.
So I think for those of you who are listening, I think the valuable nuggets from your story and what you just shared, it seems to me, I'm making an assumption here, but PRG and Chelsea, shout out, have done a wonderful job helping their team. What we just talked about earlier. Teams don't do that unless they see the value in it and unless they're enjoying what they do.
Yep.
So whatever happens in the back office, whatever's coaching, whatever is being encouraged for that team, which is all about building connections with their residents, which also buys you grace, right? Everybody has a bad day, but when you have when a team's engaged, and again, you don't benefit right off the bat. If you're not doing this today, you're not going to benefit. It's not like you can do this for a week and think everything's going to change. No, it has to be consistent. It has to be for
Anything
months.
that's worth doing is worth doing well and doing consistently.
Yes, and it takes a hot minute.
Mhm.
But once you do it, then you have such a good relationship with your residents, and the residents give you grace when there is something that goes wrong. And it just really, it's like a community culture that
Yeah.
starts to build that all comes back to that personal one-on-one, interactions. And, someone said, well, there's always people who don't want to interact. They prefer
Sure.
all digital.
When I moved in, they said, you can be as visible here as you want, or you can be as invisible here as you want.
Mhm.
All we want is for you to be happy.
That's a nugget. I love that. But what's interesting? I have found that people you don't think are going to appreciate that personal touch. If you're consistent with it,
Sure.
they might surprise you.
Mhm.
They might surprise themselves.
Yeah, for sure.
Because people just are. I think the bar has been set low about how we engage with one another, but definitely in a customer
Yep.
service. Years ago, a long time back when people were really good about going to the mall. I remember malls.
The mall.
I haven't been to a
What's
mall in
that?
so long. I'm like, do they still have those? I'm sure they do. But they were doing like a survey coming out of a mall, and it was interesting. I think it was featured on like 60 Minutes or 2020, like one of those shows.
Yeah.
And they were talking about the level of service in America and people's expectations. And one of the things that was interesting in the survey was people would come out and they would mark their experience. When it got to the granular things, they would score them on a scale of 1 to 5, 1s, 2s, maybe a 3, but nothing above a 3. And this was an issue for this particular chain. That's why they were doing the surveys.
Mhm.
But when it came to overall experience, they were 3 or higher.
Mhm.
And it was a really interesting
Perspective.
Thank you. Thinking about why when somebody rate the overall experiences, it was still okay if all these other things weren't. And I think it spoke to where our expectations are.
Mhm. People won't pay attention to the details if the big stuff is done well.
Yes, that's very true.
Think about hotels, Ritz-Carlton. They do it well. The overall experience is pretty stellar.
Mhm.
So if there's schmutz on my headboard or something, you go.
I don't want to know what schmutz was
You
in
close
reference to.
you close the bathroom door and there's sprayed hair stuck to the back. I mean, it happens all the time in hotels. I stay in a lot of them, so I pay attention to these things. But when the service, and sometimes I'm like, I'm going to write this up in my rating. But if the service is good, I let those little things
Right.
slide.
Well, this goes back to buying grace,
Mhm.
right? Putting
Mhm.
some money in the emotional
And
bank
perceived value.
and perceived value.
Where do I find the value in all the things that you're offering me? What's the most important?
Yeah. Well,
Clean and
awesome.
fresh, good working order, great staff. I feel sorry for PRG because if I ever move, I'm going to try to find another PRG property, and they all better be because the locks has set them. I mean, I dote on them all the time.
Mhm.
I send them crumble cookies, a National Apartment Teams Day. I do that quite often because I appreciate what they do for us.
Awesome.
And I think it speaks volumes about it's the little things that
Mhm.
matter.
So, question, are they utilizing video emails, or are you going to go have a talk with them when you get back?
Not yet.
So they could up it even a
We've
little
talked
more.
to them.
Okay.
Multifamily, this, Elizabeth. Multifamily is so slow to adopt and adapt and iterate.
This is where I think, and part of why we wanted to have this conversation, because what I am continually hearing, and go back to the leasing cycle of this, right? The leasing workflows. We've got customers that have, new lease ups that have not hit their target economic occupancy much. Well, they haven't hit their physical occupancy, much less their economic occupancy. Real challenge if you happen to have your interest rates that the buy down that you did is expiring, right? The
Mhm.
loan's maturing. These are real challenges, especially if your lease up is now surrounded by, 1,000 other new units and more to come.
Yep.
And so try to think out of the box. Like that's the conversation. Like what can we do that's out of the box?
Yep.
And I think marketing always tends to be one of the first things that's cut. I believe that totally backfires.
Yeah.
Because if you can stick with it, you can outperform the market. But I think this is a unique way because the
And
reality
it's
is
not that expensive, folks.
No.
It's not.
no, it's not. I know your pricing, but we won't go into that. But I'm just saying one lease more and you're pretty
One
good.
lease pays for it.
It's like one extra lease. So
And we've had people say,
yeah.
because of this, I've leased an apartment sight unseen, moved them in, and I wasn't getting responses before.
Yeah.
And it's the same customer.
Well, that's basically where I'm going with it. Because if you're looking at how to stand out, why not be an early adopter?
Yep.
Because I believe that we will continue, and they've been talking about this for years from a marketing perspective about the power of video, right? As we keep moving through the
Yep.
different types of channels. And love the fact that you can cut and paste it into your text messages because I think that's really important because email you can send the greatest video message, but how many emails are they getting, even in their personal email? You know,
and the cool thing is the leasing consultant or whomever is using SalesMail, so you can do them on your phone. There's an app. We're rated highly in the App Store, or you can do them from your desktop.
From your desktop camera.
And I get a ping on my phone whenever somebody reads it or watches it. Someone is viewing your SalesMail. I can go into my dashboard and I can see where they're viewing it from. Oh, that was in Texas. That was Elizabeth. She's watching that right now. Why don't I pick up the phone and call her and say, hey, I see that you just saw my video. Any questions I can help you with?
So that's a great point. No, from a sales perspective and professional sales coaching, like when you got an engagement online, right? Whether it's a web form, you know, how fast you can follow up has a direct correlation to your conversion ratios and closing ratios. So how great is that? And now this is not supposed to be a let's sell your product, but the concepts is what I'm more excited about.
It's just
to be
about
fair to our audience.
Being different, being intentional, and then
but having
being
a tool,
consistent.
but having that tool to know, hey, somebody's engaging with what I just sent them. And if they haven't leased yet, that's another opportunity to like I said, pick up that phone.
And a regional manager can see their entire team's performance. They can see all those videos that are being sent. We had a regional on a demo yesterday that was like, I've got a few people on my team that I'm not sure I'd trust. I'm like, well, if you don't trust them to send a 30-second video, hey, I'm interested in having your business customer. What questions can I answer for you? Why are they working in your office? You know, I mean, it's a true question to ask, because if you don't trust them, I think early on you talked about providing people with the tools and then trusting them to use them, and then stepping back and watching things grow and flourish.
Yeah. Back when we used to answer the phone because we didn't have email. I'm aging myself right now.
Hey, I remember handwritten ledger cards, and the service requests were all in triplicate form, and they were on a pegboard in the back room.
Yes.
Plumbing, electrical, appliance.
Okay, we're having a throwback moment here because, you know, back when we used to rely on For Rent and Apartment Guide for all our free guest cards.
And these, I'm going to just say it, these kids think they've got it tough today. You ain't seen tough.
That's funny. Oh my God, you made me squirrel out. I was going somewhere with that.
No, you were talking about
phone. Yes. So we used to have, coaching about how to answer the phone. We used to talk about shopping scores on your phone conversions. Back when CallSource was an early entrant into the space, we recorded. Yeah, I loved me some CallSource. Recorded calls that you could then listen to and critique and give feedback and help people improve their closing ratio to where you could literally close over the phone. And it's great to get something sight unseen today. Try doing that over the phone.
Without video or without the ability to even send a picture to somebody. You couldn't even attach pictures back in the day.
Just saying, those of you who've done it, rock stars.
We were on DOS-based property management software. You could do nothing.
You couldn't do nothing. But the same thing should probably apply here.
Yes.
Like just if you have people that you're not sure how comfortable you are, this is a great opportunity for coaching and
guess what? We do that for you.
Oh, well, that's awesome too.
We provide ongoing training and support. We've got an amazing client success team, and we will do the heavy lift for you there. We have resources up the yin yang. We've got a boot camp basics that helps people understand how their lighting should be, how they should stand, where they should position their camera, what's the best way to do a tour of an apartment.
Oh, awesome.
And all kinds of resources. And it's so easy.
Let's do, well, that was where I was going to go next. It was just a few helpful tips about recording video, because I think it also applies to Zoom meetings where I still see people that like I have quite a setup at home. I think you and I have talked. Have you seen it? Like hopefully it looks like I'm looking right at you when I talk.
You do.
Even though I am and I'm not. You know what I mean? But I invested in a setup so that I could still feel as personal as possible and have eye level and eye contact and not be looking down, not be off to the side. So what are some basic tips for someone that's going to do video follow-up?
Be yourself and don't try to be perfect. Be authentic. I use SalesMail for my out-of-office message so that instead of just a static, I'm out of the office flat text, they get a video that says, hey, I even mentioned to you, I said, I'm going to be doing an episode of Prop Talk with Elizabeth Francisco in Dallas. And I made a blurble during the video, but I left it in there. I said, I'm going to be out of the office on Friday, but I'll be in the office tomorrow. I said, whoop, I won't be in the office tomorrow. I'll be in the office on Monday. And I even laughed at myself, and I left it in there because that authenticity is what people want.
Yeah.
They can tell if it's fake, if it's contrived, if you don't really mean what you say. And for you to be yourself, authentic, excited. I mean, I'm excited when somebody walks through the door of a lease up that I'm working at, because I know I've got beautiful stuff to show them, and I've got, I love to help people, and I want to demonstrate that. And I can't do that through a text message or an email message.
I would think, too, that if you've just gotten off the phone or you've had a personal tour, an in-person tour engagement of any sort, it's probably, I would assume it's easier to go and make
Pull your app up.
Yeah, instead of waiting till the end of the day, because you're still in the comfort zone.
They're still in the buying zone.
Look at us bringing zones together.
I mean, I used to tell people, I'm going to follow up with you as soon as you leave. And they sometimes were still in the parking lot, and I was already calling them. I told you I was going to call you back. Thanks for your time. I know it's important and it's valuable, and I appreciate that you took some with me. And I just tell people, think of it as a video voicemail. Nobody really questions leaving a voicemail for somebody.
Yeah.
Hi, this is Steve in the leasing office. I really appreciated your time today. Can't wait to see you again with your wife on Saturday at 4. Versus just a voice, now it's a video, and maybe there's a call to action with some pictures that I took that you can show your wife of that one thing that she was really importantly looking for and trusting you to find.
So I would think, too, the more you do it.
Yeah, the more you do it, the easier
more
it
comfortable.
becomes.
Yes, case in point.
Yeah.
I think if you look back to the first Prop Talk episode, I was pretty rigid.
My first multifamily mind was not as smooth as the ones that I'm doing now are.
So it might surprise anyone that's listening that I'm a natural introvert, because nobody believes that when I say it.
Nobody believes it.
I know, but I was for such a long time. The funny story I don't think I've ever told on Prop Talk is when I was first leasing, I was so bad. I was horrible. I was temping. I had a newborn baby at home, and I worked at a property with two Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders. Talk about intimidating. I had post-pregnancy
And there
body.
you were, 5 foot and postpartum.
I was like, oh. It's like motivation. But I am a natural introvert. I was a science major. And I wasn't a big talker. And I was terrible at leasing. And I swear to you, the only reason I got hired is that property staff fought for me, because I knocked out all of their administrative crap. In record time. I think they left me alone on my first day, and I had we had filing cabinets. All the filing was done. I was a beast when it came to taking care of all the administrative stuff. But I also knew I had to lease to keep the job. Mm-hmm. So I would follow them along, and I would parrot what they had to say verbatim. Shamefully verbatim. Sometimes
mockery is the highest form of flattery.
It is, as long as you also have presence of mind to realize that sentence didn't make sense for this person. So when I tell you guys I was terrible.
Yeah.
But, over time, it's like anything else. When you keep doing it, you get more comfortable with yourself.
We live in an age of authenticity. That's what people are looking for. When they're watching TikTok videos, those things are funny, and people screw up all the time, and they have millions of viewers because they're authentic.
Yeah.
When you're not, when you're scripted, people know it.
So there's our advice for you guys. It's like, put them out there. If you have that scenario where you're a little concerned, then maybe put two people together and have them, because it's intimidating, I would imagine, to have your manager, your regional manager, looking at every video you do. Yeah. But put a buddy system together, and give people an opportunity to screw up.
Yeah. Let them create an environment where they can fail with dignity. Mm-hmm. Give them the opportunity to try it again.
Yep. And
if they're not good at it, don't force them to do it.
Yeah.
Or find a champion within your organization who is great at social media, great on video, and have them create some, we call them evergreen videos. So you tape it one time and you use it over and over and over and over and over.
Yeah, because there's no limit. Right?
No, yeah, we have an unlimited video storage capability because we host that on our web servers, and you have unlimited licenses, so as many users as you want. So get the service team involved. Hey, my name's Steve. I'm the service technician. I just wanted you to know that it's going to be me who's knocking on your door later. And then when I'm done, if you'll click this link here, that's a survey that I would really appreciate your feedback on how well I served you in your apartment today. I mean, there's so many use cases.
Yes. Pretty much, is there anything you can't use it for?
No. We even have a QR code creator that's dynamic, so you can put it in print, you can put it on a sign, and if the information that's it's leading to becomes obsolete, all you have to do is go in the back end and change where you're sending it to. So like we have a coaster that we use at trade shows that's a SalesMail video, and it's the same QR code that we've used for every conference, but the video is always changed to, hey, we're coming to TAA, hey, we're coming to Apartmentalize.
Yeah.
And we just go in the back end and change that. And we had a gal, I've been staying with my family here in Texas for too long. We had a gal in Richmond. Their property is actually closed on the weekends on Saturdays and Sundays. It's a 2-person property, so and if their occupancy was fine, they were able to do that. Well, what she did was she created a QR code, and then she did a quick SalesMail tour of the amenity space and a quick look at the model. And then she posted that QR code on the leasing office door on the days they were closed and said, we may not be here, but you can still see us. Scan here.
I love that. That's a great idea. This is why he's here today.
You can use video for so many things.
Do you have a community where people are sharing like ideas and stuff that they've done, or is it?
We have like a leaderboard where we highlight who the people who are getting the most views, who are the people that are, and I mean, I'm sure we could probably do some clinics and things and share best practice. A lot of people don't want to give away their secrets though.
Yeah. But a rising tide rises all boats.
Yep. That's the truth. That's the truth. Maybe we'll do, you guys do Resmania. Maybe we'll do like SalesMail Mania. There's too many syllables there.
I was gonna say it doesn't sound quite.
But like a user conference where people we highlight people who are doing really well with the stuff. But I mean, it's so easy. It's so much fun. I love this product because it matters to people.
It shows.
Yeah.
That's why, like I said, normally, and we've talked about this, we don't do a lot of product features on Prop Talk.
I don't. Yeah. Well, and I have my podcast. We rarely talk about SalesMail on our own freaking podcast.
Well, yes.
So thank you for this opportunity.
Oh, you're very welcome. And I think it's important to always open to, new ideas. I thought there's a real pain that I keep hearing, real challenges that people are having. And I've been listening to it for the last, 7 months and a day about how they can still win in this market. And I know we always talk about going back to basics, but this truly is, in a sense, going back to basics, because back in the day, basics was this, face to face. And while maybe that doesn't always work in today's climate, and you can't meet renters where they are because some of them, it just doesn't work for them. They don't prefer it. But having the ability to just have like that eye contact, I think that's what it comes down to. It's about the eye contact and the smiles.
The personal connection with somebody.
Yeah.
I mean, if you think about like student housing, these kids aren't paying the rent, their parents are. How cool would it be for a parent to get a video from the manager? Hey, I'm the manager at the community that your son is moving into, and I just wanted to introduce myself, let you know how excited we are to have him here. We are going to take such good care of him and his roommate.
Yeah.
And if you need anything, my contact information is below. Don't hesitate to reach out to me, and I'm happy to help. Already, she's solved some problems. She's not going to have to chase paperwork when it comes time to get what they need.
Well, there's a peace of mind that comes across too for somebody who's putting their, even though they're almost like they're technically adults, but that I can tell you, my kids are 30 and 28 and they're still my kids. I just referenced them that way. So having that peace of mind, that's like, okay, because it's a big decision, when they get out of the dorms and go into the actual rental properties, if unless they go there first and then they're even younger. So I'm sure that's even harder.
I mean, if you step back and you looked at your whole process, there are so many places you can insert a tool like ours. Even in your chatbot features, instead of it just being, when somebody fills out your contact form on your website, they usually get an automated email that says someone from the team will be following up with you shortly. How cool would it be if that was a video instead of just what they're expecting? I
completely agree. I think there's a huge opportunity. If I had assets, I'd be jumping on this already. I can tell you. There's a few people I'll be calling because we've got this tough conditions right now. Even across the country where people are seeing some positive rent growth, may not be what they'd like it to be, right? But the truth is, we're probably going to continue on this path through 2025, right? I think what was it everybody was saying is you just got to survive to 2025, and then well, I like to say it's going to take grit to get to 26, which basically means this is going to continue. Right. And I think it's kind of like a stabilized environment to some degree. Like it's not, when I say stabilized, meaning I don't know that it's going to get much worse, but I think it's going to kind of maintain, kind of like the Fed's interest rate, right? It's kind of been holding steady. It's not ideal. It's not what we want. They didn't give indication it was going to go up, thank God.
Yeah.
Hopefully it comes down in September like they indicated it might. But it's kind of the same thing. Like, how do you get in front of it? Because the truth is the down markets will come up.
Yep.
And you want to set your assets up and your properties to maximize the opportunity when that time comes around.
And you want to be leading the pack, not following the pack.
Yes.
And now is the time to look at solutions like this for operators that are listening, because budget season's just about ready to kick up.
Yep.
So put those budget assumptions in and make sure that you're accommodating for a solution like ours. And it's not expensive. It's not.
Yep.
In the grand scheme of things, this is pittance compared to what it could do for your results, both on the, acquiring new customers as well as keeping residents engaged and happy, and like all they want to do is they just want to be communicated with. And this is a great way to do it.
Now I remember back when we diverted. Ching! Train is pulled into the station.
Squirrel.
Pulled off for maintenance. We're back. When you were talking about how we have talked ad nauseum about building a sense of community for the residents, when it's really a sense of community with the office staff.
Yep.
I think that was such a great point. And so I was thinking about any other like examples of, utilizing video mail for like your maintenance team.
Yeah.
So we talked about, hey, I'm going to be the one coming in your apartment. Is there any other instances that?
Why, yes, there are.
Yeah, I didn't know that when I asked the question. I'm just trying to put myself back in the operator mindset.
I have a couple of customers that have some buildings in markets that are like pre-war buildings. So if you think about like Chicago, Boston, buildings that are old and they have these really wonky thermostats, and people don't know how to reset their garbage disposal. There's some things that we could teach. Residents would probably do a lot for us if we just showed them how to do it, some of the little things. And then the service team isn't swamped with all these easy fixes. 60 easy fixes in a day is a total time suck. So this company's printing QR codes. And when people move in, there's a QR code over the thermostat with a video that's the service manager saying, "Hi, welcome to your new apartment. Our thermostats here are a little bit different, so I'm going to walk you through how to put it on heat in the winter, how to transfer to cold in the summer." And then they're doing the same thing with the garbage disposal. There's this QR code that says, "To fix me, scan me."
Oh my gosh, this is greatness.
And it's a little link to a video that says, all you have to do is, and he even takes his phone and puts it underneath the garbage disposal. See this little red button here? That's what you'll push. Now, if that doesn't work, click the link below, go to the portal and put in a service request, but this should get you set.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. And for those who have washers and dryers,
yes,
a video warning them of the cost if they unhook that washing machine by themselves.
Yeah. We had one girl at a property where they you actually have to turn on a switch to turn on your dishwasher. And she's like, this gets missed. She's like, this gets missed all the time. And especially that you guys can't come for a move-in orientation. I just wanted to make sure that you had this video. So let me show you how you're going to do the switch. And then she takes it off of selfie view and she flips it around. And she's like, this switch right here on the wall, the left one is for your dishwasher. The right one is for your the left one is for your dishwasher. The right one is for your garbage disposal. And if you flip this on, you'll see now that these blue lights came on the dishwasher. So that's how you power up your dishwasher. And then she flips it around. Just wanted to make sure that you had that information because a lot of our residents forget about that. But I'm here if you need me. My contact information is below.
I love this idea.
How many residents can't show up for their move-in orientation or a walkthrough? That never happens.
Yeah. Here's your keys. Fill out your move-in inspection form. And there's a lot of great information that could be shared. And I'm sure a lot of people are doing well and walking them through and introducing and talking about things. But the reality is, until they need it, they're not going to remember it. Right.
Yeah.
There's a retention issue in general. So having the QR codes throughout the apartment with videos about common issues that can be self-served.
Or even in a mini model, a vacant. I mean, you can think of all kinds of things you could share.
Yeah. Video is powerful.
That's
why we're talking today.
Or like do an evergreen move-in orientation. In this building, the mailroom is down here on the first floor on the south side of the building. That's where I am right now. We had a guy saying, you can't park in this alley. And he was in the alley because you'll block other residents who live in the neighborhood as well as you could, mess up your car or whatever. But here's where you'd want to park. And he walks around the corner with the video and says, right here's where you want to park.
I love this.
So many. When I first started working at SalesMail, I couldn't sleep at night
You were thinking of all the
because
ideas.
I was like, oh my gosh, we could do this, we could do that. Every rock I looked under, there was a way to use it.
Mm-hmm.
Recruiting, HR, when you roll out stuff, how many companies do
we
you
haven't
know?
even talked about internal. We've been so focused on, external stakeholders. But internal inside your company.
We had a woman who was getting ready to roll something out, and she said, normally we'd send a video, or we'd send an email with a bunch of attachments. And she said, I'm going to do a video instead. So she did this video, and she said, I wanted to do this video first because I wanted to tell you the why we're making this change. Mm-hmm. And this is why we find there's value here. And that's communication that the folks in the field don't really ever get. Mm-hmm. There's always that bottleneck.
Yeah.
So this is a really great way for senior leaders to lead from the pack and we've got presidents of companies who are sending birthday messages to all their team members, or if somebody has a work anniversary, instead of just an email, happy anniversary, type. It's I'm so glad you're here. This is your second anniversary and you've done so many great things in these 2 years. I can't wait to see what you do in the next 2. Mm-hmm. It just brings that personal, that's what we're talking about, personalization. Mm-hmm. Everybody loves that. Don't you love to hear your name and have something personalized?
I think everybody does.
At first, I thought it was really stupid and corny, but my sister sent me a personalized portrait of myself for Christmas. Because she knows I like the UK so much, she found Charles' portrait and superimposed my face on it and sent it to me. And it's hilarious and it's funny and it's in a place of pride because it's been personalized. Mm-hmm. Somebody took the time to put their signature on it.
Yeah. Now you've passed this curse on to me because I'm going to have all kinds of ideas that I can't go utilize right now. So some of y'all might get some ideas from me. I'm just saying because if I don't sleep. So
well, and all those renewal letters instead of just letters and emails.
Yeah, I'd
switch it up.
Switch it up. Do something different. But I love the idea of the personal connection with your teams because I think engagement is hard. I was just talking to somebody earlier today about kind of feeling that drag. Mm-hmm. She said it's the annual July drag on the site teams. And it feels like the mojo's like people are tired. They're a little snippy. It's these little things that you can do that are just separate you. But getting a personal birthday message or an anniversary message, that takes a lot of time, right? So it might be hard, depending on the size of your company, for president of the company to send out 100 of those.
Right, but regional managers could do that for their portfolios.
Yes.
Community managers can send them to their residents.
Yep, exactly.
I mean, who wants to hang 72 birthday or anniversary letters on a resident's door when it's a heat index of 110? Send them a video. I put a video on Facebook and LinkedIn with Stephanie Anderson's birthday. And I did a SalesMail, and I put it on LinkedIn and Facebook. I think I
saw that, actually.
Somebody in Leinster, England, or Ireland watched it.
How funny is that? That's funny.
Yeah. But, I mean, you can find so many ways. I mean, I know we're like way over time. But there's so many great things that you can do. Like when I was doing outreach for the Multifamily Social Media Summit, in fact, the PRG group was one of the groups that I wanted to share SalesMail with. And I hadn't connected with a couple of them. So, when you do a connection request on LinkedIn, you can send it with or without a note. Well, I'll send it with a note and I'll paste my SalesMail link in there. And not only did they connect with me on LinkedIn, but they also clicked my call to action and they had dinner with us.
Oh, awesome. That's fantastic. Yeah.
So, Devin, if you're listening, we still would love to partner with you. And, I mean, I could talk for hours.
Yeah. Well, and I was just thinking too, because, you on the supplier side, right? We
totally.
And we are utilizing it, but it's making me think about how we could even utilize it inside of Resman and Inhabit as a whole. Because we just had our anniversaries for this month, and I'm proud to say we have a lot of anniversaries.
And
great. We have a lot of tenured employees too that have been here. I call them the Resman OGs. We still have a lot of Resman OGs here, which is really cool.
Yeah.
Thinking about the way we acknowledge that and birthdays, as we kind of do them in groups. But we do it in a company stand-up, so we're still having some personal interaction. But when somebody does something outstanding from a sales perspective or customer support, right, we have somebody that hits it out of the park.
Right.
When we see those, reviews, that's something that the head of a company could do.
Yeah.
Because it's not going to be the same volume. How meaningful. I remember when I was coming up through the ranks, when I wasn't sure this industry was for me, because my first year was a little rough.
You were still coming out of your shell.
It took me longer than you might think to come out of that shell. But I just remember his name was Mike Pacilio, because it was Ewing Properties. Just the personal outreach that he did it motivated
Like
me.
recognizing what you were doing and
Yep.
things. Yeah.
Yeah. It was improvements. It still wasn't probably where I needed to be, but it was, it was drastic improvements.
Hey, I'm telling you what, behavior that is rewarded is behavior that is repeated.
Yes.
And a
amen.
reward doesn't necessarily mean money. It doesn't necessarily mean a pizza lunch. It doesn't even mean a candy bar. It just means taking
I see
30
you.
seconds to say, I see what you did and I think it's fabulous. Do some more.
I get excited. Can y'all tell I'm excited? So I feel like there might be some video messages in my future for some of you who know me.
I hope so.
Well, you know what's funny? I loved, and I didn't know there was a professional services to help do this. And I love the idea that you can manage it and see interactions, and that's really valuable. But years ago, I would send out and so did Christmas cards. I did personalized videos, and I did all through LinkedIn.
Love it.
And it took a while. Like I set up a whole backdrop. I might have had candy cane ears on for those of you that got them. And I sent them out. And I got a response on every single one of them.
Yeah.
Because other people weren't doing it.
Yep.
And so, yeah, this is something I hope you guys have found this like really helpful, spur some ideas, some creative thinking. I think what you said about your brain's on fire when you start thinking about this, because there are so many ways that you can have that personal touch with someone. But even taking it further, what you were saying about, I love the QR codes. Like, how can we, and especially for those that are short-staffed and we have labor challenges.
Or you've got a budget that's restrictive and you just printed a bunch of stuff with a QR code on it that's now obsolete. Well, guess what? You don't have to reprint them anymore. Just change the link.
Yeah.
And you can do that yourself.
Yeah. Great ideas. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you for giving me the platform to do this. I really, really appreciate it. And I know Walt and Fran and our whole team at SalesMail is very grateful for this opportunity.
Well, I'm glad to have you on. And like I said, kind of broke our own rules today, but there's a reason.
Well, and that's the thing about it. It's not a pitch.
No.
Here's a tool that can really change the dynamic of your direction.
Yeah.
In a very positive way. And it's so easy.
Yeah. And your team can have fun with it. I can think back to my team.
So much fun with this.
They would have loved this. It's like they would have
I send sales mails to my friends for their birthdays, and they're like, "Oh my God, this is so cool!"
Yeah. Well, is there anything new and exciting on the horizon for you guys with development or?
Oh gosh, I probably should have asked that before I got here.
We can cut that last part.
Well,
out.
we're always looking. So our product actually came about because we listened to our customers and what they needed. So we started just doing those legacy videos, capturing moments of senior, for their family members. And then those customers at those senior living facilities said, "Hey, what can you do for us in video that would help us stand out through email?" Mm-hmm. And that's how SalesMail was born.
Yeah.
And it's just, it's such a great tool and it's so easy and it really can completely set you apart.
Yep. And we need that. You need that.
On all sides of the coin, I'm telling you what, 52% of your workforce is currently looking for a job. According to Gallup, 52% of the current workforce are looking. According to Swift,
I haven't seen that yet.
You know Swift Bunny?
Yes, love that.
According to Swift Bunny, 21% of your current people who have accepted jobs at your company won't make it through 90 days because they're still looking. So to engage a new employee through video, and we even used QR codes at Capital Square Living that linked them to a sheet where we got their shoe size and their shirt size, and we got a picture of the maintenance teams all before they started with us, so that on day one they had their maintenance badges, they had a couple of polos that fit, they had a hat.
Yeah.
You can leverage this so many different ways. Because it doesn't always have to link, the QR codes don't always have to link to a video.
Yeah.
They can link to anything, a spreadsheet, a Google sheet, when I spoke at NAA with Cynthia Ann King, Peter Lynch, and David Sayers from Cortland, we didn't have a PowerPoint because we did a fishbowl. It was a new session for them. Mm-hmm. Our PowerPoint was in the app.
Yeah.
And the last slide was a QR code from SalesMail that linked them to a Google sheet that had links to all the TED Talks that we'd watched, all the articles that we'd read that helped us create our presentation.
Yeah.
You can...
I knew.
We have a dinner reservation in like 5 minutes.
We're good. But we are out of time. I knew this would not be a problem. No, thank you again. So very sincerely, I know my brain is reeling with ideas. I always know something's a good idea, and I know Resman and you guys are talking. Because when it puts me back in like, oh my gosh, I wish I had properties to go implement this. Like I would be so excited about it, about the concept, and I'd put a strategy around it. That normally is like my tell, I guess.
Yeah.
Like we do
Well, the mere
with,
fact that we specifically picked you guys to have that conversation around a partnership, it's because I believe in you and what you've done for this industry and what you've created at ResMan and now at Inhabit IQ, and I just think you're the bomb diggity. So,
bomb diggity. No, I think the same of you. So thank you so much. Look at the smiles. Like, well, I just love it when you come into town. All right, guys. Well, we do have to wrap it up. So
he's flashing the lights at us. I don't know if you could tell that or not.
No, we're good. I think it's because of the way we're both talking at the same time. But thank you again for joining us. I hope you enjoyed this episode. And put those nuggets to good use. All right, give your team something to be excited about. Do something a little bit different. I always like to say that in a down market, somebody's still leading and somebody's still at the back. Yep. So why not lead? And this is a great idea of how you can set yourself apart. So I encourage you to do that.
Can I tell them how they can contact me if they're interested?
Sure, of course.
So I'm on LinkedIn, so you can easily find me there. Steve Wunch, like lunch with a W. SalesMail.com, very easy.
Yes.
Or my email's too long, so just connect with me on LinkedIn.
And he's really good at responding, I can assure you. I've seen it. Awesome. Well, guys, again, thank you for joining us for Prop Talk. It's a podcast sponsored by ResMan, where you can get all things in the multifamily ecosystem. And if you want to learn more about that, check out myresman.com, where you can see a lot of great content and learn a little bit about what we do as well. But you can find this podcast anywhere you get your podcasts, on Spotify or iTunes, Apple Music, anywhere you get your podcasts. So we hope you'll tune in, share this. There's some great nuggets today, so please share this wide in our industry. So thank you again. Y'all have a wonderful rest of your morning, day, or night, depending when you watch this or listen. But we appreciate you, and thanks for being a listener. Bye, guys.